Right now at 11, tracking Bay Area shores, a tsunami advisory lifted across the Bay Area following some tense few hours triggered by a powerful earthquake overseas. We have team coverage on where things stand at this hour. Thanks for joining us for our midday newscast. I'm Marcus Washington.
And I'm Laura Garcia. Hours after a powerful earthquake in Russia, a tsunami advisory for the Bay Area is being lifted. Here's a look at the timeline. The 8.8 magnitude quake struck off Russia's remote Far East around 6:30 last night. But at about 8:15 this morning, another 6.4 aftershock hit. The chaos all captured on camera. Medics in the middle of surgery did their best to continue working as the surgical suite shook. Furniture could be seen shaking in an office building as workers moved to evacuate. Several buildings were damaged by the quake, including a kindergarten in Russia's Kamchatka Krai area. Emergency workers could be seen removing rubble from that site today.
Meanwhile, in Japan, about 2 million people are still under evacuation orders due to the tsunami threat. Now, the country's prime minister said waves measuring more than 4 feet high came ashore. Now, no substantial damage, but there have been travel interruptions with traffic jams and train delays. Now, that brings us closer to home. This is where, again, that advisory has been lifted. The body of water near Oracle Park is looking calm this midday.
We have team coverage this midday. NBC Bay Area's Ginger Conejero Saab and Kris Sanchez in Pacifica and Santa Cruz. But first, our team coverage kicks off with meteorologist Kari Hall. Some areas still under advisories at all?
Yeah, so we are still seeing some advisories for Hawaii and far northern California. But let's get a look back at what happened once that 8.8 magnitude earthquake struck. We saw the waves kind of propagating out from that area. And since then, there have been 161 reports of aftershocks in those areas. So there still is the risk that some of these waves will continue. Once again, we mentioned Hawaii, but also around Crescent City, we're still seeing, because of the topography and the shape of the coastline there still may be some very frequent and turbulent waves in those areas. But also from Cambria down to Santa Barbara, they are still under that tsunami advisory, and they're just advising people to stay well away from the water. We're still going to see some big fluctuations in those wave heights, and we're still expecting some stronger currents and above normal tide, even over the next several hours as we continue to monitor the situation there. Back to you. And our team coverage continues with NBC Bay Area's Ginger Conejero Saab. She joins us live from Pacifica. And Ginger, when we were under those advisories, did people seem to heed the warnings, or did they stay off the coast?
They didn't seem to listen as seriously, probably as authorities would have wanted them to. Kari, as you can see, there are surfers out in the ocean at this moment. I just spoke with a man who ended his time out in the water, and so with the advisory just being lifted, it does. He was out in the water surfing during that advisory, and there is pretty clear signage here in Pacifica that says that the beach and the parking lot here is closed because of what was that tsunami advisory. It wasn't as clear up in San Francisco for the folks up at Ocean Beach. Now, there were less people out on the beach compared to other mornings, I'm told, but definitely less people, I should say, not aware of a tsunami advisory in effect at all, including this surfer who spent an hour in the water surfing.
I didn't see any signage, but I remember last time there was an advisory, they sent out a text message, but I didn't get one today.
And there were also people playing beach volleyball. They say they knew there was an advisory last night, but checked the alerts this morning and didn't feel the need to change their planned play.
No, I don't think we're too worried. Not from something so far away. I think we all feel pretty safe, and we all just really want to play.
Yeah, so that is something that we heard from the folks up in San Francisco this morning, something along the lines of not being aware that the advisory was still in effect. But here, that was pretty clear here this morning, Kari.
Actually, we'll now take it from here, Ginger. We've monitored those fluctuations around the bay all morning long. The wave heights really weren't that high, but experts still say it could be dangerous for the marine areas.
Yeah, that's right. We actually spoke with an expert from NOAA who's based up in Anchorage. They've been closely monitoring this throughout the night and into the morning, saying that the effects of that earthquake can really be seen and felt in the days to come afterwards. Here he is explaining a bit more of what actually happens.
The really big misperception, I think, is that people, when we hear a forecast of a tsunami wave that's going to be, let's say, 2 to 4 feet, that's 2 to 4 feet above the mean high tide line. And it is the full ocean column, the full column of water there traveling with its energy pushing up on shore.
Yeah, so it was really interesting, Laura, to hear from Dave Snyder, who is the expert from NOAA there, talking about the lasting effects. Sometimes it can last up to days, that this weird behavior, he calls it, of the ocean that's been told by surfers or anybody that's out there, as well as divers who notice and observe those differences days after something like this happens. Laura?
Something to continue to watch then. Thank you very much, Ginger.
Now, we do know that the rough waters here closer to home earlier destroyed at least one boat over in Santa Cruz Harbor.
NBC Bay Area's Kris Sanchez joins us live with what we know about the conditions there. Kris?
Well, hi there, Marcus and Laura. So you can see the masts on these boats here behind me, and they are very barely moving. We're not seeing a lot of movement here in the water. And of course, now that that advisory has been canceled, we know that folks are going to start getting back to normal as well. But for folks who live here and they watch the water every day, they say it was very erratic.
The surge is stronger right now. The event's not over. The amount of water that I'm seeing move as a body of water and how fast it's moving at 17, 20 knots, that scares me as a surfer. I'm a surfer, and if I see that at the beach, that's a no-go.
So a different story from the surfers here than from Pacifica, where Ginger was this morning. He's also, though, a retired U.S. Coast Guardsman, so he was watching with a trained eye. Now, in the hours since that 8.8 quake in Russia triggered that tsunami warning along the California coastline and the water surged here at the Santa Cruz Harbor, one maintenance boat sunk. The harbor master says it was just tied up in a bad location, but for now, there doesn't appear to be any other major damage. Some of the reason for that is because people heeded the tsunami warnings. Some of the bigger boats headed out into deeper waters, and Dave Waybright took his boat out of the water altogether last night, even though the waves were forecast to be 1 to 2 feet, much smaller than the ones we saw during the 2011 tsunami, which sunk more than a dozen boats.
Still, any amount could throw her up into the dock, and then you got, hull damage or whatever. So, yeah.
All right, so according to the harbor master's latest update, which was a few hours before the advisory expired, dock access was going to be limited as long as that advisory was in effect, so we expect that might be lifted soon. The dredge pipeline was damaged here in the port, and so now it is creating a hazard in the channel, which folks will have to look out for, and the work to clear that and other hazards also underway. So for now, the water and the power are shut off, and no power means no fuel because you need electricity to run those fuel pumps. We did see commercial fishermen being allowed back onto the water a bit earlier today. We saw at least one recreational fisherman turned away because the boat was just too small. So now that the advisory is canceled, we expect again that things will start looking a little bit more normal here in Santa Cruz. In Santa Cruz, Kris Sanchez, NBC Bay Area News.